Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Nile. It is Monday morning. I've got an ice cream float for breakfast. And I wanted to record this video a couple days ago, but I just wasn't feeling it, so I didn't. Today, most of the same information holds true. The first thing to point out, you've got Seattle being the first team to clinch a playoff berth. And I'm hearing people say that Atlanta's the only team that has a real shot of unseating them. And technically, they're true. That's it. But, I mean, it's not factual. Well, let me phrase it this way. Seattle, they control their own fate. See, this is why I edit. Seattle, if they lose every single game, they can be knocked out of first place by multiple teams. But to begin with, not only would Seattle they've got enough games left on the schedule that they can fall out of first place. But not only would Seattle have to lose the majority of their games, one of the teams below them would have to win the majority of their games. And a bunch of these teams are playing each other. So, Atlanta has the best shot of unseating Seattle for the number one, but they're not the only threat. If any of these teams, if LA wins out and Seattle loses out, then they could end up being the number one seed because they've got games against Seattle and Atlanta left on their schedule. So, it's possible for other teams to come after Seattle, but at this point in time, like Atlanta's got the best shot, it's highly unlikely that anyone else would perform well enough down the stretch. Speaking of performing well down the stretch, let's talk about Dallas. They're on a 5-game losing streak right now, and these last couple of games, it's very obvious that they're just missing Skylar Diggins. She's their floor general, and it's been a huge difference. Their offense the ball doesn't move as well. The inside-out game isn't working as easily. Not only is Skylar capable of scoring 20 points a game, she's capable of getting those 8 assists in a game. So she can be responsible for 40 points, for 40 of her team's points in a single contest at times. So that they are missing that production she gives them on offense. And you've seen the result in these last couple of games. I think they've scored like 70 these past couple of times. Even with Liz, she had 40 points the other day, and they still got trounced. And then in a game like this against Washington, where they played well, but they didn't quite get it. And honestly, I think Dallas has been disappointing me just because they're back at 500. I think they're right at 14-14, thanks to that 5-game losing streak. And one thing I was kind of looking forward to with the new playoff format, especially the way this current season had turned out, was the simple fact that, I was hoping that for once we would actually have a WNBA season end where every single playoff team was over 500. But it's possible we could be going with the Wings the way they're playing. Who knows? Yeah, they've had a few good losing streaks and a few good winning streaks. Overall, they just keep balancing themselves out. Like I said this a few videos ago, that for me personally, I think the Wings were the most disappointing team just because I had high expectations of them. I thought they'd be one of the more dominant teams, and they're 500, and a lot of their mistakes are just them self-destructing at times. And then you look at the teams right now in the lottery. You've got the Fever. They're guaranteed that number 1 overall pick. They and the Liberty, they've been eliminated from contention. Chicago, they're kind of in the same situation as Seattle right now, where there's a chance that things could change, but it's unlikely. The fact that Chicago, at least for now, has not been mathematically eliminated means, technically, if they win enough, they could get into the playoffs. But not only would they need to win all of theirs, they'd have to hope for Dallas and Las Vegas to keep losing theirs. And then with Las Vegas, well, I'm sure you've heard by now the whole situation with the Mystics game being canceled. And honestly, after hearing many arguments from both sides, I understand every single person's point of view. I completely sympathize with the Aces. I've had travel delays. I've had to sleep in airports. It is not comfortable. And so To just touching down like 4 hours before the game starts, I get it. I wouldn't want to play either. That being said, it's other teams have gone through a similar thing, and they've gone out and fought through it. And I'm not saying the Aces should have done that. Like, it's their choice. I respect their decision to not play. However, I can also understand if the league forced them to forfeit. Because with the condensed schedule down the stretch, it's going to be hard to find a situation where both they and the Mystics have 2 or 3 days off, so you can just add another game in there. So they might not. I wouldn't blame the league if they just couldn't find time to reschedule it and decided to just give the Aces the loss. And that would really hurt their playoff chances. I think they're already on a 2-game losing streak anyways. If you add that loss, it would technically make this a 3-game losing streak. And then that hurts their chances of getting in. Because they've had some help from Dallas lately. Dallas has been struggling, and it's really opened the door for Vegas, but they still got to win down the stretch. So how do I think the rest of the season is going to turn out? Honestly, it's hard to tell. I think Seattle is probably going to stay locked in at that number one. They've given themselves enough breathing room that they can stumble down the stretch and still stay in first. Atlanta, they've got a tough schedule ahead of them. It's hard to believe that they're going to stay undefeated going all the way to the end of the season, but I think second place seems like they might be able to hold on to that too. So it looks like that curse of the number one seed is finally been broken. And you've got, right now I feel like Los Angeles definitely has that best shot of third. Then, the other teams that are fighting each other, Minnesota, Washington, Connecticut, it's hard to tell how it'll all pan out. I think all of them still have 1 or 2 games against each other, so there might be a little bit of shuffling in the standings. Who can really tell right now? But I feel like everything is just getting very much solidified. I doubt there will be any major leaps or falls at this point. I think everyone's pretty much where they're going to be at this point. Well, those are my opinions on what's been happening. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And tell me, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream?